Mercury is one of the most fascinating elements on the entire periodic table. Although it is found in the most abundant group, the metals, mercury is the only one found as a liquid at standard temperature and pressure. This amazing property has led to all kinds of developments over human civilization. And now, we will take a closer look at how it's been used in the times before our own. The ancient Egyptians were among the first to popularize mercury's use across the globe. The most common natural source of mercury is cinnabar, and this technologically advanced civilization found many uses for such a bizarre element. Cinnabar was commonly used to make red dyes, which they would use to color buildings, pottery, and clothing. It was also seen as a status symbol, sparking trade routes for its acquisition. Liquid mercury was found in tombs across the empire, rivers of quicksilver flowing with pharaohs on their way to the afterlife. The second ruler of Egypt, a man known for his flair, even had a waterbed filled with mercury. Across the world, empires were doing whatever it took to acquire this symbol of wealth, spending great amounts of effort and money. The liquid metal saw no shortage of experimentation in the ancient world. Its properties led many to believe it a direct product of the gods or celestial beings. In China, the color red soon became a direct symbol of power due to this difficult-to-acquire mineral. Even more, it was believed that the ingestion of mercury could lead to immortality. The first emperor of unified China was allegedly buried in a tomb with mercury everywhere, though it was said that he died due to drinking a mixture of mercury and jade in his search for immortality. In ancient Greek mythology, Daedalus, the skillful architect and craftsman, utilized mercury in a variety of ways. Daedalus made many statues throughout the stories, but for his special statue of Aphrodite, he was able to make it move. It was said that he utilized mercury to accomplish this feat. It was also said that mercury was able to give the statues voices, though both of these stories remain unproven. Famous American explorers Lewis and Clark even utilized mercury on their search for the Northwest Passage. In the 19th century, mercury was utilized in laxatives. This is due to its amazing tendency to purge your entire system, an interesting characteristic of an element later discovered to be toxic. In 1644, the oldest type of barometer was invented, one that utilized mercury to tell the pressure. Since the density of mercury is quite high, it was able to replace the massive amount of water that would have been needed to make such a device work. This invention also led to the widely used pressure unit, millimeters of mercury. In 1717, Daniel Gabriel Fahrenheit began selling mercury thermometers commercially. Although these were not the first devices that could measure temperature, their accuracy was unparalleled at the time. Although this accuracy remains very high, even for today's standards, we don't see them very often anymore due to the toxicity of mercury. In 1915, the first organomercurial seed dressing agents appeared on the market. Due to their ability to protect from fungal diseases, factories began to spring up all over the world. The dangerous alkyl mercury compounds weren't introduced until the 1940s, where factory workers and farmers working directly with the seeds began to see negative effects. Although only intended for planting, many of these seeds ended up in bread or porridge and were sometimes fed to animals. Between 1955 and 1967, at least 5 major and several minor outbreaks of poisoning occurred due to seed ingestion. Seeds sown in fields were also sometimes eaten by wild animals, although hazardous levels were only found in smaller animals like seed-eating birds. Between September 15th and early December 1971, 73,000 tons of wheat and 22,000 tons of barley seeds were treated with organomercurial seed dressing agents in Iraq. Though these seeds were only intended for planting, some was inevitably used for food, both for humans and animals. This ingestion led to the first person seeking medical attention on December 21st of 1971.
Later studies concluded that the wheat contained methyl mercury levels ranging from 2 to 16 milligrams per kilogram. Bread baked from this wheat saw no reduction of mercury levels, leading to levels between 5 to 10 milligrams per kilogram in a loaf. Barley contained methoxypropylmercury and phenylmercury, though barley was primarily used as animal feed. The levels found within animals were kept quite low. However, it's possible that not much barley was actually used for animal feed during this time. Cooking and frying further decreased mercury levels, leading to little fear of poisoning from animal consumption. The outbreak affected mainly rural areas, as these were the communities consuming the most bread. Poisoned subjects had mostly methyl mercury as the dominant form in their tissue, further confirming the bread theories. A total of 6,148 people were admitted during the outbreak, but this number is believed to be heavily skewed due to limited healthcare options in affected areas. In severely impacted areas, 28% of the population suffered from poisonings, with 21% of these people dying. The Iraq poisoning of 1971 through 1972 was the worst alkyl mercury outbreak ever. Though heavily reduced, mercury is still used in various manufacturing processes, including the production of chlorine and in coal-fired power plants. The runoff from these processes can be washed into waterways by rain. Anaerobic bacteria in lakes, rivers, and streams convert the inorganic mercury into methyl mercury, which is a more toxic organic form. Methyl mercury enters the aquatic food chain and bioaccumulates in fish. Because it is a neurotoxin, exposure to methyl mercury, typically through eating affected fish, can cause nervous system damage in the human body. The Clean Water Act protects human health, fish, and wildlife through state-adopted water quality standards for acceptable levels of pollutants such as mercury. The Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, informs the public of mercury contamination in waters, including fish containing methyl mercury. The Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act, EPRA, requires the reporting of emissions of mercury by industrial and federal facilities. By the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, RCRA, the EPA is responsible for managing mercury wastes from beginning to end. Through the Safe Drinking Water Act, SDWA, the EPA limits mercury concentrations in public water systems. Water professionals must prioritize early monitoring, precaution, and strong scientific understanding to prevent similar harms. Current discussions about cutting back EPA regulations make these lessons even more important, since weaker oversight could increase mercury releases into waterways. Mercury exposure often disproportionately affects communities that depend on local fish, so modern water professionals must center environmental justice when assessing risks and designing advisories or treatment strategies. Without proper monitoring, these communities could collapse due to the effects of mercury.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed learning about Mercury's history. It was a blast to look at the convoluted past of such an interesting element. Here are the references we used to gather all this knowledge. Any questions?